try sing along. This is a message from Cabana. If your heart turns blue, I want you to remember this song is for you, and you are full of wonder. Whoa, 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 we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder. Whoa, whoa, we ain't falling under. Whoa, whoa, we are full of wonder.
Hey all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to WellSprings. My name is Adam Schaffner. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm honored to be your breath of fresh air this morning. Each week when we gather, even when we must gather at a distance, we light a chalice, not only as a symbol of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists, but also to call upon that divine spark within each of us, both emerging and eternal, and invite it consciously to be present with us here and now. Today, I've asked my family to light our chalice. After they've done so, we'll say the words up on the screen, and together we say, we light our chalice to celebrate the path lit before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Good morning and welcome to this week's online service. Our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. What has me charged full this Sunday? Our family has spent a lot of outside time together during the last 5 weeks. Long days inside can be a real drag for a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, not to mention for a mommy and daddy too. We're fortunate to work from home and remain employed, but there has been a big balance that we and many other families have had to tackle. There's keeping the kids from putting each other in a headlock, making sure they get a few snacks and not 47, making 3 meals a day nearly every day. Thank you, Tiffany. And the attempt, even at 4 years old, to keep up with the crisis schooling. All this family time has helped to open our minds and uncover cool things for us to do. And that brings me to this. Joey and Tiffany created this really rad earth loom. Find something intriguing on our daily walk, bring it home, and weave it into the earth loom. On the trail, find a drop a find from the witch's cave, the stream, or mossy trunk into your treasure pouch and bring it back and add it to the earth loom. By the end of the summer, this should be chock full of really cool finds from our quarantine adventures. So what has the earth loom and our constant time together taught us? So many things are a treasure. Even with no place to go but the grocery store, we can still weave a pretty amazing tapestry of memories with the kids. When in my wildest dreams did we think we would have 5 weeks with our kids, with no interruptions and nowhere to go? It's stressful trying to get the hours in we need to get our jobs done, but the prospect of enjoying my kids for 2 more months, 3 months, 4, 5, who knows? But one thing I do know, I'm going to try and be better for my kids and Tiffany every day because I will never get this opportunity again. Although I have been praising all the outside time, technology has made this enormously possible. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that others we know and love aren't nearly as fortunate as each of us. They are sacrificing their health and well-being day in and day out, spending time away from families and always walking in the door with the real concern that they could be bringing COVID home. And to them, I give an immense and heartfelt thank you. Your work has charged my soul. So, even though our community is gathering virtually right now, there are lots of ways to get connected and stay in touch with us throughout the week. You can find phone numbers and email addresses for our ministers and staff, along with a ton of other information about us on our website at www.wellspringsuu.org. You can connect with us on social media too. Search WellSprings Congregation on Facebook or WellSprings Oasis to find our private Facebook group. On Twitter, you can find us at WellSpringsUU, and on Instagram, we're at WellSprings Congregation. There's a link in the video description you can click on to sign up for our weekly email newsletter. That's a great way to make sure you never miss any of our online offerings, like programming for kids and meditation and drop-in hours with our ministers. It goes without saying anytime, but especially in these strange and difficult times, please reach out to us, anywhere, anytime. At WellSprings, the foundation of everything we do is found in the power of connection, making space in our hearts and our lives for each other. This is the part of the service where we honor that connection by greeting one another. Now, we may not be able to hug and shake hands, but there are plenty of ways to greet other Wellspringers for a few moments. If you're watching this live on Sunday at 10, you can type a greeting in the chat window on the side of your screen. Maybe drop into the WellSprings Oasis group on Facebook with a greeting, or snap and share a photo of yourself watching at home. Text a friend from church, or make a plan to call them when the service is over. You can also plan to join us for our online coffee hour at 11 a.m. on Zoom. The link for that is also in the video description below. Take a few moments now to greet someone. I'm going to spend a few minutes in the Oasis group during our service, and I look forward to connecting with you there. Thank you for sharing all those warm greetings. I invite you now into our time of generosity, a time to reflect upon and to express our gratitude for the role WellSprings plays in our own lives and in our wider world. Now more than ever, if you feel the value of our community in these times, we hope you'll share a gift with us. If you have a smartphone handy, you can pick it up and text WSPRINGS WSprings to 73256. That'll get you a link to help you complete an online gift. There's also a link to give you online in the video description below. We can't thank you enough for your support in these times, and we've got a message this week from our Generosity and Gratitude Ministry. Check it out. Good morning from the Generosity and Gratitude Ministry. We'd like to invite you into our time of generosity and gratitude.
There's a lot going on right now. So much is up in the air. Sometimes it can feel like everything is, and yet we're finding ways to be together, like this.
Thankfully, we already have ways to pass the hat outside of Bell Hall.
Thanks, Adam. As much fun as it is to give by putting money in the hat, we can also give via Realm, WellSprings online community, or via text. Using your phone, you can text WSprings to 73256. We ask that if you can, please do what you can to support this chargeful community and its hardworking staff as they work to connect us during these times of social distancing.
And thanks to the magic of cell phones, video, and editing, and everything you're able to give right now makes these online services possible.
Your generosity is at the heart of everything we do at WellSprings. Hit the pause button if you wish and support this community. Back to you, Adam. Just as we've taken the time to share the energy of connection among us and generosity beyond us, let's now devote some time to reground into the deep and soulful energy that's within ourselves. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath. We inhale and exhale without rush or hurry. We breathe in and then we breathe out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be, and nothing else to do than to be here together now. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of mindful silence. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and experience presence in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we are doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close as is our own breath. May this be so for you this moment. May it be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come. May it be so for all of us. When we gather in person, this is the time that we dismiss all our kids to their time together in youth spirit. But these days, Youth Spirit is meeting on Zoom every Sunday at 9 a.m. So, for now, let's see if we have any shout-outs from our youth in this week's Youth Spirit Yell. Miss Carol, are you there?
Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well, and I have another Youth Spirit Yell for you. Stay. There you go. Good puppies. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone. This is a WellSprings shout out especially for my Youth Spirit friends who took yoga with me this year. I wanted to remind you that you have 3 things that you can practice at home. The first, how to take a deep breath, big and full, all the way down to your belly. It will slow things down and slow time down, and it will make you feel really good inside. The second, I know you know how to fidget, but remembering some of those long, structured stretches, like reaching up, or side to side, or down to the floor, or practicing some of those warrior poses. You can share those things with your family. The third is the reminder of the energy chime. We listened until we couldn't hear it anymore, and that brings focus, clarity, and peace of mind. Until I see you again, bye-bye.
Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Bring the little fishes, bring the sharks, bring them from the brightness, bring them from the dark. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Bring them from the caverns, bring them from the heights, into my heart.
Hi everybody. I want to share a little bit of a different kind of message this week. And maybe you can tell it's a little different already if you're paying close attention because I'm in my soft clothes. I did that on purpose. I want to share a message about going easy on ourselves and on each other. I am actually hoping that this message feels a little bit like a hug, the kind of hug that we can't give each other in person these days. I don't want to challenge us too much today. I don't want to push us to see what is inspirational about the times that we're living in. This week, I want us to take 15, 20 minutes to just be where we are, to give ourselves that gift. I want you to know that that is okay to do, that it's okay to be where we are, and it's okay that all of us are going through a lot. We are spent, many of us, lost. Many of us are feeling a sort of emotional whiplash, I think, at times. I saw a little graphic online with a cycle, with somebody going through, at the top of the cycle, I feel sad about the state of the world, so then I turn off the news and I watch, funny TV shows, and I scroll around and look at funny memes, and then I laugh, and then I feel guilty because I know that people are struggling, and then I watch the news, and it just keeps going like that. That is confusing. That feeling of emotional whiplash, that feeling that we are not sure how to feel even. And that disconnects us from how we do feel in the moment. It's hard, and it's okay that it's hard. It is the most normal thing in the world to feel this way right now, in the midst of something that is unlike anything we've ever experienced before. So much of our energy right now just goes to living, to getting through the day in this completely topsy-turvy, upside down kind of place. So much of our energy goes to just making it through. And we have less energy for the other things that we are used to being able to do. This service today, this Sunday, this is our 6th online service. We've done 6 of these. And when all this started, I actually started kind of using a shorthand that I kept in mind. I was thinking early on in mid-March about what we will do as a community at WellSprings, and I was making plans for keeping our community engaged and connected over time. And I had some good ideas, and I heard some good ideas from other people, and I knew that some of those ideas would take longer to do, and they would be more challenging for us to figure out and implement. And so the shorthand I started using was, we'll do that in week 7. That's a week 7 idea, I said more than once to a handful of people. And now, next week is week 7. I had this feeling back then that by week 7, we would need something fresh. We would need a new boost, a jolt of something, some kind of new encouragement. In hindsight, I think I was pretty close. This week, I do feel something turning in our community and in our country. I think we have some encouraging turning that's happening. I see signs that what we are doing is working. I see how the worst case scenario projections are not where we are. I see on the news that in Philadelphia, here where I live, we are not at maximum capacity for our hospital beds, which is good news. I see that in many places, the climb of new infections is starting to level. Those are such good signs of something turning. But I also see another kind of turning beginning to emerge. And it's just the signs of how hard this has been on all of us. I see the signs that all of these plans for short-term economic stimulus are starting to run out. I see that there are people who are beginning to talk less about solidarity and coming together and saving lives and more about who is to blame. Our feelings of frustration and sadness and confusion. They've been here with us now for 6 weeks. And I see that some of us are beginning to ask, how long? How much longer? How long will we be living like this? If you have been asking that, you are not alone. Nearly everyone I talk to is asking that. And I think we're asking because none of us knows the answer yet. We are desperate to find someone who does. My friends, Ben and Sarah, I've talked about them before. They're neighbors of mine. Ben and I grew up together. And I know I've talked about their daughter. They have a little girl named Sydney who is, believe it or not, 5 now. The other day, Ben shared a little slice of their family's reality on Facebook. It might sound familiar to some of you. He said, "The little ones are so angry right now about all of the no in their lives. No friends, no school, no park, no everything. And how could they possibly be expected," he says, "to express that anger in any way other than lashing out at us as parents?" He says it's all of the disappointment of being a kid in normal times with even less of the agency, less of those few things that we have control over. And he closed his little post by saying, "This thought was brought to you by 45 minutes of being screamed at over nothing." The little ones are so angry about all of the no in their lives. I think the big ones are too. No friends, no school, no park, no everything. We can know as mature adults that this is all for the common good. And we can know that we are helping and that it's worth it. And we can know that it's possible to manage, right? That we are making it work, that we are finding ways to stay connected, that we are finding ways to feel a sense of purpose and support each other and find joy and beauty and laughter in all the ways that we can. And it can still be hard. We can still feel all those things and have that question right behind it. So for how long will we be doing this? Is this like another 6 weeks we're talking? I'm starting to hear people say, right? Or is it 12 weeks? Or is it 6 months? A year? We're asking ourselves and each other, right? Do I need to adjust to some other new normal in this time, or is it going to be just like this? Are we going to be going back and forth between what this feels like and some other thing? What is coming? Right? Just tell me. Whatever it is, at least just tell me so I can prepare and I can figure out how I'm going to make it through. And no one can. No one can tell us. Not yet. It's so frustrating. And it's so hard. There's a UU minister who is a good friend of mine, Molly, the Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon. She serves a congregation in the Midwest. And Molly is also a mom. She has 2 little girls. And she wrote this reflection last week, comparing this feeling that we have to being in labor with her kids. Because she says it's the open-endedness, right, that really makes this impossible in some ways. Not only is it hard in this moment, we also have no idea how to manage our expectations. In childbirth, she says, it feels a lot like that. She says it is already too hard. It's too hard in every moment. In every moment of childbirth, she says, we are thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And no one can tell us how much longer it will be. The baby is born when the baby is born. She says, for me, that meant that I had to let go. I had to let go of thinking that way. And instead, she said I had to just focus on breathing through for 5 more minutes. I would breathe through for 5 more minutes of labor. And then maybe in 5 minutes, I could start again, right where I was, and keep breathing for another 5 minutes. Molly says so many people who have birthed babies or not, she says so many people I know have described that same strategy to me in their own words for other impossible, hard experiences in their lives. Whether it was getting through a terrible illness, living with an illness, living with loss, grieving. The strategy, she says, of just doing the very next right thing. How long is a really overwhelming question. And it's a beautiful and honest question. Many of us might know of one of the Psalms that begins with that question. Psalm 13. It's one of the Telahim in Judaism. It's a Psalm of David in the Old Testament of the Bible. And it starts with that question repeated 4 times throughout a short little piece of poetry. How long? How long? How long? How long? When we ask this question, we are allowing space for lament. Lament, which is a spiritual practice as old as those scriptures are, as old as that psalm, as old as human beings. For thousands of years, people who feel lost or angry or scared have asked, how long will I feel this way? How long will this go on? These spiritual practices, whether they are prayers or songs of lamentation, whether they are grief jars where we write little notes and keep them in a little jar on our mantle, whether they are journals where we write out our sadness, whether they are connections with trusted friends, the kind that allow us space to share what's wrong without trying to fix it or make it go away. These are all sacred practices that make room for lament when lament is the next right thing. When all inside of us can do nothing but ask that question, how long? Even in our society, even in America, with all of our can-do productivity and our white picket fence smiling family Disneyfied ideals in our culture, we even then tend to make room for lament at certain times. In the end of life, we will make room for lament. We will make that space in hospitals and at gravesides and at funerals and memorial services. But we forget sometimes, or at least I forgot until I read Molly's story, that we also will make space for lament at birth. A birthing parent will cry out in pain, and no one will tell them to be quiet, right? Not if they fear for their life. A birthing parent cries out in pain, and we understand that that is natural and normal in that space. No one will tell them that things aren't really that bad, all things considered. Those cries and screams and groans are honored and respected. They're necessary for new life to be born. Reverend Molly says, you do not have to figure out this whole pandemic thing. You can't. At least not on your own. She says you just have to live through the next hour, and then the next one, and then the next one. Things will change, and they will keep changing. She says 1 hour might be worse, and 1 hour might be better. And one day, we will live into a time when the better hours pile and stack up on top of each other. And that day, we might declare this challenge past. But until then, my friends, she says, just keep taking another breath, and then another, and then another. This message series, excuse me, that we are now winding down from, it was all about friendships and connections, being a friend, right? Not finding a friend, not just in that sense of going out and making friends, but being one ourselves. And it's funny now to look back. Some of my suggestions from earlier in this message series about how to do that, how to be a friend, they don't make much sense anymore, right? Spending time in coffee shops and making small talk with strangers and going to the park to pet dogs, a million miles away right now. But thinking about who we want to be and what connections we want to nurture right now, that's more relevant than ever. And I think one of the most powerful ways that we can be a friend to ourselves and to others in this time is to find ways that we can be with our questions and our uncertainty. To find ways that we can allow ourselves to honor our lament and the lamentations of the people we love. To honor the lament we see in the world right now. The people who might be complete strangers to us, but who we know are struggling with their own fears and their own uncertainties. I think of that birthing parent and how intuitively we respect those cries. It's amazing to me what just that practice of making space for lament will do to our sense of respect for and connection to each other. We might not be so quick to interrupt with that certainty that we know what's best. We might not rank pain so easily, deciding that one person's struggle is more significant to us than another one's. We might find more room in our hearts than we knew was there. More space than we thought we had capacity for. These times have disoriented us, and they have disturbed all the things that we thought were for sure, which means that we can be reoriented. We can be friendlier with ourselves and with each other as we move through this. It really is possible. One little breath, one moment, 1 hour at a time. I think some of you will remember this beautiful little illustration that we've used at WellSprings more than once. I know Reverend Ken has preached on it. I think I have too. It's from the children's book author Dallas Clayton. And I'm afraid to put it in the video because I'm personally still terrified of the YouTube copyright robots, and I don't want them shutting us down. But we will link a picture of this into the chat and maybe the video description below. It's that illustration with a little crescent moon on the side, and then a list that says 3 things. 1, we are in space. 2, no one knows what's going on. 3, I love you. When has that ever felt more true? We're dealing with a new, unprecedented virus that no one knows how to cure. None of us has ever lived in this time or place before. And no one knows how long this will last. That's the reality. No one knows what's going on. But you are not lost. You are right here with us in space. If you don't know what to think or feel, if you don't know what to do, if you are tired of the choice to go to Aldi taking on life or death significance, if you are disoriented by news that cheers you up in one moment and brings you down in the next, then you are doing it right. Reality is disorienting. If you feel that way, then you are in touch with reality. And you're in great company, because that means that your heart is open to all that you see. And it is hard. But I know that even though it's hard, I am not ready to give up. Not on myself, or on you, or on us. I might do things more slowly in this time. I might make mistakes. I might not know the answer. I might be in soft clothes, even more than usual. But I would rather stay in touch with reality. I would rather stay in touch with what's real for people than I would press on with a false kind of certainty. I would rather our community act out of love and care as best as we can and just try to do the next right thing. We could do so much worse than to have extra compassion right now for ourselves and for each other. So if this feeds that well for you of self-compassion, of compassion for the people around you today, then I think we've done our job. I think we've lived up to our mission for these last 20 minutes. Our souls connected and brought together for a moment into something more whole, more honest. Let's start asking, how long can we do that? Here, together, and each of us in our own ways. Amen. And may you live in blessing. I invite you to take a moment now to join me in the spirit of prayer. God of our hearts, source of all living things, help us remember these days that we are doing the best we can. Help us have compassion for our aching bodies and our cluttered houses and our foggy brains. Help us have compassion for our broken and hurting and healing and open hearts. May we remember to keep an eye out, to look for the things that help us remember we are so beloved, that our belovedness in this faith is inherent. It is our birthright. It's big enough and holy and magical enough, that love, to be ours and everyone else's at the same time. How does it do that? A love so big that it is the closest thing perhaps some of us can imagine to the very heart of God. And just like gravity, just like the atmosphere, just like the stars and the space above us, it can hold us all. For the prayers that I've spoken, and for the prayers that each of the people watching is carrying on their hearts, we say amen. Well, the camping stove that the Schaffner family lit may go out, but the source of that spark stays with each of us. And together we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, and to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. I am looking forward to seeing some of you in our Zoom coffee hour at 11. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. Thank you all for being with us. Hang in there.